And so you can see here that sickle cell anemia is actually a mutation that occurs in that sort of phase, so in our gamete cells. And what happens is if someone has sickle cell anemia, basically every single one of their cells has that change in that protein that produces the blood cells. And so every one of their blood cells, the coding for the shape of the blood cells has been altered, which allows for them to have that sickle cell shape. And so sickle cell anemia occurs when both gametes receive the sickle cell gene. So you might have the sickle cell gene in one of your variations of the allele at that protein. However, you might not express that. So your red blood cells might be normal. If, however, when your cells actually go on to be passed on to your offspring, we know that meiosis will randomly choose from each allocated protein whether your offspring inherit your mum's side of that gene or your dad's side, which you have both of. And if you choose the one that has the sickle cell gene in it, and then the person that you're procreating with or interbreeding with also has that sickle cell gene, then if both genes are present there, then the new offspring has two variations of their allele for that sickle cell gene, which means that they will have sickle cell anemia, which means that's why you can see that certain things like this might not be present in both the parents, but will be present in the offspring. Alright, now, this is a very, very important slide for you to be able to know and understand, and we've talked about this, I reckon, it was either topic 1 or topic 2, but really, really understand why it is of how we are so unique. So in asexually reproducing populations, or organisms that basically do binary fission or that just carbon copy their genetic code, the only way that there are mutations, the only way that there is evolution of that species, the only way that that species can change is through mutation. So as that code is being copied, that there is an error in how that is being read, and then there obviously is a rise of a variation of what the protein is that was created there. So we're not going to see in certain organisms then a lot of genetic variation. However, in sexually reproducing populations, we have heaps of ways. So mutation is one way where we're going to see genetic variation. We then see crossing over, which we talked about heaps, and I will implore you to go back and look at crossing over again. Independent assortment, and then random fertilization, and that's the only one we haven't talked about in the past. So absolutely don't just click on this and write those down in your notes. Go back to the previous ones that we covered over crossing over and independent assortment. I reckon it was in the cells topic, and have a look at that and make sure you actually understand how that actually occurs. But this idea of random fertilization is when there's 100 million sperm per ejaculation, one of them, which is going to have a completely different way that crossing over and independent assortment has occurred to every other one of those 100 million, only one of them is going to be the one that fertilizes the egg. So that's going to increase the amount of genetic variability. So there are, you can see, 4 mechanisms that allow for an increase in genetic variability in sexually reproducing organisms, which is why generally we can see that sexually reproducing organisms can be more successful at maintaining a larger biodiversity in a gene pool.